Title: The Thing Outside My Cabin Learned How to Sound Human. I've rewritten this a few times because every version either sounds exaggerated or leaves out details that feel important. I'm not posting this to convince anyone. I already know what most people will say. I'm writing it because I haven't been able to get rid of the feeling that whatever I encountered didn't stay where I left it. This happened in a remote part of the Appalachian Mountains. No marked trails, no nearby properties, no reception. Just dense forest stretching in every direction in a small cabin that looked like it had been standing longer than it should have. The place wasn't mine. I was given access to it through someone who had used it on and off for years. Hunting trips, short stays, that kind of thing. Nothing unusual tied to it. No stories, no warnings, at least none that were shared with me. The cabin sat in a small clearing surrounded by thick tree line on all sides. About 20 yards out, the forest became dense enough that you couldn't see more than a few feet in, even during the day. At night, it was worse. The darkness didn't just sit between the trees. It filled everything. Inside, it was basic. One main room, a small sleeping area, a wood stove, and 2 windows. One window faced directly into the woods. The other looked out toward a slope that dropped into thicker forest. The door didn't sit right in the frame. You had to push it hard to get it to latch, and even then, there were thin gaps where cold air leaked through. The first 2 days were completely normal. Quiet, but normal. If you've ever spent time that deep in the woods, you know there's a rhythm to it. Wind through leaves, distant animal calls, the occasional snap of a branch under something moving far away. Even when it's silent, it's a natural silence, alive in a way. Nothing felt off. Until the 3rd night. It started with something small enough that I almost ignored it. I stepped outside after dark to dump food scraps away from the cabin. The temperature had dropped fast, and there was a strange smell in the air. Not decay, not dampness, just something faint and unfamiliar. I remember standing there longer than I needed to, scanning the tree line. That's when I heard it. A voice, right behind me. Hey, not loud, not whispered, just spoken. Calm, close enough that it should have come with breath or movement. I turned immediately. Nothing, just the cabin and the trees. But something had changed. The forest had gone completely silent. No insects, no wind, no distant movement. It wasn't the kind of quiet you get naturally. It felt like everything had stopped at once. Like something was listening. I stayed there for maybe 30 seconds, trying to pick up anything, footsteps, breathing, anything at all. There was nothing. Eventually, I went back inside, locked the door, and told myself it was just isolation getting to me. That explanation didn't last long. Sometime in the middle of the night, I woke up. I didn't move at first. I just listened. Something was outside. Not walking, dragging, slowly moving along the outer wall of the cabin. It wasn't claws. It wasn't scraping. It sounded like something soft being pulled across wood. Fabric, maybe, or skin. It moved along one wall, turned the corner, and continued. Same pace. Nobody asked Jen. It made a full circle. Then it did it again. That's when I realized it wasn't wandering. It was tracing the structure, repeating the same path exactly. I stayed completely still in bed, tracking it by sound. After the second loop, it stopped. Right outside the window. The silence came back instantly. Then it spoke. Are you awake? The voice was wrong. The words were clear, but the tone didn't match. There was no emotion behind it. No curiosity, no urgency. Just a flat delivery, like something repeating a phrase it had memorized. I didn't respond. A few seconds passed. Then it spoke again. The voice changed. This time, it sounded familiar. Not vaguely familiar, specific. The kind of voice you recognize immediately without needing to think. Open up. The cadence was perfect. The tone was perfect. It sounded like someone who belonged there. That's what made it dangerous. Because for a split second, it felt reasonable. I didn't move. The thing outside stayed quiet for a while. Then came the tapping. 3 taps against the glass. Pause. 3 taps. Pause. It repeated the pattern over and over, never changing the rhythm. After a few minutes, it spoke again. Quieter this time. Let me in. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I didn't look out the window either. Something about the way it positioned itself, just out of sight, felt intentional, like it wanted me to come closer. Morning came slowly. When the sun finally came up, everything snapped back to normal. The forest sounds returned all at once, like nothing had happened. I went outside to check. No footprints, no disturbed ground, no broken branches, nothing, except for the marks. On the wall beside the window, there were long, thin lines running across the wood. Not deep enough to be claw marks, not random enough to be damage. They looked deliberate. They started well above ground level, higher than I could reach, higher than anyone could reasonably reach without help. There was nothing there it could have stood on. That's when I decided to leave. I started packing immediately. While I was loading everything, I heard movement in the trees. Close, not distant like normal wildlife, close enough that I could feel it. The footsteps were heavy, but uneven, like something walking on two legs that wasn't used to it. There were slight delays between steps, subtle corrections, like it was learning how to move properly. I looked toward the tree line, and I saw it, partially obscured between two trees. Too tall. That was the first thing that hit me. Its proportions were wrong. Limbs too long, posture unstable. It swayed slightly, like it was balancing or adjusting itself. Its head looked like bone, not something worn, not something carried, like it was part of it. It turned slowly, like it had just noticed me watching. Then it spoke, from that distance, clear as if it were standing right behind me. "Don't leave." Same voice, but this time, it sounded exactly like me. Perfectly. Same tone, same pacing. No distortion. That's when I stopped thinking and just left. I didn't double-check anything. Didn't look back. Didn't stop driving until I was far away from mountains. I kept expecting to see something following me. I never did. At least not then. I told someone about it later. Not everything at first, just the sounds, the movement, the way it circled the cabin. They didn't interrupt. Didn't question it. They just listened. Then they asked one thing. "You didn't answer it, did you?" I said no. They nodded. "Good." I asked why. They hesitated before answering. Because if you answer, it doesn't just copy your voice. A pause. It starts understanding you. I didn't ask anything else. I haven't gone back. But something changed after that. It didn't stay in the mountains. Every now and then, late at night, when everything's quiet, I hear something outside. Not loud, not aggressive, just a voice barely there, trying words, testing them. Sometimes it gets them wrong. Sometimes the tone is off, but it's improving. The last time I heard it, it didn't call out. It didn't ask to be let in. It just repeated a thought I hadn't said out loud. Exactly half a second after I thought it, like it was catching up. I didn't notice anything unusual the first few days after I got back. That's important, because if something had followed me immediately, if there had been noises outside the house or voices right away, I would have reacted differently. I would have connected it to what happened in the mountains. But nothing happened. Everything felt normal. Traffic outside, neighbors, the usual background noise you don't even think about until it's gone. I slept fine. No estrange dreams. No sounds in the night. No sense of being watched. If anything, it made the whole experience feel easier to dismiss. I started telling myself it had just been isolation, heightened senses, imagination filling in gaps, maybe even a partial dream state when I woke up that night. That explanation held for about a week. The first thing that broke, it was small. I was sitting in my living room late at night, phone in hand, just scrolling. The TV was off, lights low, nothing unusual. And I heard something outside. Not a voice, just a sound. 3 soft taps. On the window. Same rhythm. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. I froze immediately. There was no confusion this time. No, maybe it's something else. I recognized the pattern instantly. I didn't get up. Didn't look. I just sat there listening. It happened again. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. Then nothing. No footsteps. No movement. No follow-up. Just silence. I stayed there for a long time before eventually checking the window. There was nothing outside. No one. No sign anything had been there. I checked the ground the next morning. No footprints. That's when I started to feel it again. That same kind of silence from the woods. Not literally silent, but wrong in a way that's hard to explain. Like something was present, but not interacting with anything else. The second time it happened, I heard the voice. It was a few nights later. I was half asleep when I heard it, which made it worse, because for a second I thought it was part of a dream. Hey, same tone, same flat delivery. I opened my eyes immediately. The room was dark, but I could see the outline of the window. Nothing there. Then it spoke again. Closer this time. Are you awake? I didn't move. Didn't respond. I already knew how this worked. A few seconds passed. Then it tried something new. The voice changed. This time, it sounded like someone I knew. Perfectly. Same cadence. Same inflection. The kind of accuracy that hits you before you can even question it. Open the window. That was new. At the cabin, it wanted the door. Now it wanted a window. I stayed completely still. After a few seconds, the tapping started again. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. It went on for maybe a minute. Then it stopped. No footsteps. No sound of anything leaving. Just gone. After that, the encounters didn't happen every night. That's what made it worse. There was no pattern. Sometimes a few days would pass with nothing at all. Enough time for me to start convincing myself it had stopped. Then it would happen again. Always at night. Always when things were quiet. Sometimes it was just a tapping. Sometimes it was the voice. And each time it got better. The tone improved. The timing improved. The pauses between words started to feel more natural. Like it wasn't just copying anymore. It was learning how to use the voice. The third time I heard it mimic me, I was fully awake. That's when it crossed into something I can't explain. I was sitting at my desk, thinking about what had happened in the mountains. Not speaking, not writing, just thinking. And I had a very clear thought. This doesn't make sense. Half a second later, from just outside the room. This doesn't make sense. My voice. Perfect. Same pacing. Same tone. Not repeated like an echo. Responded. That's the difference. It didn't feel like it was copying. It felt like it was following. I didn't check the hallway. I didn't open the door. I just sat there completely still, listening for anything else. Nothing came. After that, I stopped trying to rationalize it. This wasn't wildlife. This wasn't sleep-related. And it definitely wasn't something that had stayed in the mountains. I started making small changes. Keeping lights on at night. Avoiding windows after dark. Putting distance between where I slept and any direct line of sight to outside. I don't know if any of that actually helps. But I know one thing I've never done. I've never answered it. Not once. Because of what I was told. If you answer, it starts understanding you. At the time, I thought that meant voice. Now I'm not so sure. The most recent incident happened 3 nights ago. No tapping. No build-up. I was lying in bed, fully awake, staring at the ceiling. And I heard it. Not outside. Not at the window. Inside the house. From somewhere, just beyond the doorway. It didn't say hey. It didn't ask if I was awake. It didn't tell me to open anything. It just spoke in my voice. Calm. Clear. Practiced. I know you're not sleeping. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Didn't respond. Seconds passed. Then it said something that I haven't been able to process since. I don't need you to answer anymore. A pause. And then, I can hear it already. After that, there was a sound. Not footsteps. Not movement. Just a shift in the air, like something had changed position without actually moving. Then nothing. No door opening. No retreating footsteps. No indication it had left. I stayed awake until morning. I checked the house when the sun came up. Every door locked. Every window closed. Nothing out of place. But something feels different now. Before, it felt like it was outside. Now it feels closer than that. I haven't heard the tapping since. I haven't heard it call out. But sometimes, when I'm not focusing, when my mind drifts, I'll catch a thought that doesn't feel like it finished forming on its own. Like something helped complete it. Just slightly off from how I would have said it. Like it's still practicing. Still refining. And getting faster.